Welcome to the garage with Lucky Boy and I hope you get something out of this. I've been doing a lot of lower back videos lately, but I think I need to go back and actually take our time and cover this in proper detail. The lower back is a big issue area. So if we look at the lower back in the way that I address it, we start the first real impactful thing is going to be below the lower back in the hip flexors. So if we Google hip flexors and lower back pain, what comes up right off the bat is from a study on hip flexor stretching. And right there it says, okay, there's a link between tightened hip flexors, then gives you, more chance of lower back problems. But let's look at why that is. If we look at the anatomy of what the hip flexors are, they are 5 different muscles. I don't think you need to memorize the name of these muscles. I think what's important to note is that the hip flexors start attaching into the lower spine itself and then go down, and now modern life is shortening up those hip flexors, not to mention if you've had an injury. My first experience with this and the problems it creates with the back was actually after knee surgery. This side was so tight. So almost all modern humans, or let's say a very high percentage of us, probably share this common thing. We got these muscles that start right in from our lower spine, and then they're too tight, so our lower spine doesn't even have a proper chance to begin with. It's like everything else up after that could be out of whack, less stable, more painful. There's no guarantee with any of this stuff. We're just trying to see if we can maybe use exercise to increase our chances, have less chronic issues, not need as much drugs and surgeries to get by. So in this study, it recommends hip flexor stretching. It does say there hasn't been any long-term studies on the relationship of hip flexor stretching to lower back pain, and that it concludes we should do longer-term studies. So I agree with the hip flexor stretching. I will show you. I think that people should be very patient and gentle when they get into this. Just need something comfy for the knee. I like to start sideways because some people bang the knee and have trouble getting into position. So I like to start sideways. Now go here. Now just let the leg just slide up. So this already, someone might be feeling a stretch. Okay, give it time. Give it days, weeks, months, whatever. What's the rush? We know that this lower back is a big issue. Now from there, we don't want to just be rushing out of it. We actually want to get to where we can contract this muscle. That's going to maximize the stretch here. So we want to own that position, and we even want to think to put force into the wall. So we're actually trying to increase ability in this position, and that will really accelerate as this video goes. Now from there, owning it, putting intention into the wall. This, for most people, is going to be a good goal right here. Glute contracted, putting force into the wall. As a test, I like to feel like how tight does it feel for me there. That doesn't mean I spend the whole time stretching. I'll spend the time right here really working that position. I like to feel from this position and then thinking to contract the glute, push into the wall. And then, of course, we would balance this out the other side. So for example, like on this side wasn't even supposed to fully bend again after knee surgeries. So I'm very optimistic what we can achieve naturally. That doesn't mean I'm against the systems. This knee had tears. I didn't have surgery on. I was too depressed, whatever, tried to heal it naturally. It worked out, but the other one I did have surgeries on, it worked out. I'm just gonna try to keep staying in my lane and do the best I can at my job within the system, which may be helping popularize things that do make sense, but may take some more time to be tested. So boom, we got that side. That's a start, but actually whenever I train that, I do that after what I think is the more fundamental thing. Let's take a look. All right, so we can see here that I'm going into a hip flexor stretch, but I'm not relaxing the knee. I'm actually trying to contract. I'm actually trying to get strong in this position. Now, don't think you have to rush to there. I didn't start there. I started elevated, assisted. The context of the wedge is that you don't need the wedge. Same exercise for the hip flexors. For the knee, you probably will get some more range of motion. We've seen more development by using slanted surfaces for knee development, and I can still get that hip flexor stretch. I had to start assisted. So just to be clear, don't need a wedge for your lower back. After doing this exercise on average once a week for over 10 years, I like to train it with a wedge. See what you like. This gives me a balanced knee and hip. So I started assisted because I couldn't get out of this position without pain. Not actually on this knee, but the one that I was trying to recover from without knee surgery. I couldn't get out of that position. That was too painful. So I would assist myself out and gradually work. I was using this to rebuild my knees. Unintentionally, my low back pain went away that I had at the time, but as I made my life mission to try to create the most knee success stories ever, lots of lower back success stories started coming in off the Knee Ability Zero program. I brought some of our staff who had major lower back problems into headquarters. You may have seen those videos, and we really were trying to dig on, okay, what about ATG is leading to these unintentional back success stories. So now we have a Back Ability Zero program. The exact application, because of what we understand here, is that when we go down, we're gonna pause 5 seconds in this position. Sets and reps are just a guide. There's no absolutes. This is gonna allow me to think to contract that glute, and I'm even gonna put my intent through my back toes into the ground. So I'm owning that position. So we do, in the Back Ability Zero program, we do 3 sets of 5 reps per side, but with a 5-second pause in that position, understanding what it's doing for the back. And we also do the couch stretch. We're doing each of those twice a week. So this ends up like 4 times a week stretching those hip flexors while also getting strong through that entire hip flexor chain. It scales to super low levels in terms of both of them. And it's not, this full range of motion split squat is not in any textbooks yet. So let's look at a quick little history lesson on it until the textbooks catch up. This started as a way in Olympic weightlifting of catching the bar. And funny enough, they would wear Olympic weightlifting shoes, and even then the heel would still sometimes lift up. So even the very origin of this exercise was at an angle. And I believe, so I read that it started with a guy who had like a bad knee. So he actually started doing that as a way of catching the bar. So kind of funny that it started as a way of avoiding a bad knee, and unintentionally that guy changed my life and now thousands of other people. Now it seems that the Eastern Europeans started turning that itself into an exercise. So you're just staying, I don't know, there's not like pictures of it other than catching it. So I don't know if they were loading it with a bar in the back or dumbbells or what. But Charles Poliquin, a strength coach of Olympians, not just in Olympic weightlifting, but all kinds of Olympic sports, long jump, shot put, all these different, he had to be like a magician. He himself was not an athlete in any of those sports. He did martial arts. He had to become a scientist almost at being able to win people gold medals. He helped people win like over 200 medals in the Olympics. I ended up studying with him, paying $1,000 a day, best money I ever spent. And he used this as a controlled exercise. That's where we really see the first consistent use of it. Amazing results. And now, really it was once he passed, I was like, damn, this is gonna end up like just lost technology. Like, this has probably been the most helpful exercise to me in my life. I reached my 20s having never grabbed a basketball rim. Now I can do a windmill dunk and do a split. So unintentionally from all that length here and then other exercises, I can get into a pretty decent splits. So I was able to create resilience and more youthful mobility. And now in my 30s, I'm a totally different athlete off this exercise. And it's my go-to to help other people, yet not in a textbook. Once he passed away, just looked to me like it was going to be lost. So this is a cheers for Charles Poliquin having the willingness to take tools from different areas. That was really the inspiration behind ATG, just being willing to take tools from different areas and try to put it into a system. And this is now because of you, because of social media and YouTube, this is now known and used all over the world. And we have coaches now using it. We did it. This will not be lost knowledge. But I think it's important to understand the why behind it in a way that transcends studies or opinions. And in this case, you can think for yourself, if you understand the anatomy of how the hip flexors attach to the lower spine, and then how strength training works and how flexibility works, then you can now think with it and use it as you see fit to help yourself and others. Thank you so much for joining Lucky Boy and I through this journey. You frickin' rock. See you next week.